Well, hello everyone. Happy Monday. Well, are you ready for a little bit of a history lesson, but with one commandment that's going to could possibly change our lives? Well, I hope so because that's what we're going to talk about this morning as we jump into coffee. Conversations of friends of faith to encourage and equip. I'm Kim Crabill. So delighted to have you back. How was your weekend? How did things go? How are you? How are you this Monday morning? Sometimes it's just so hard to believe that this is almost the middle of March already. But isn't it also hard to believe that we're stepping into a new book? We have finished Numbers. You finished it this weekend, didn't you, in your reading? And now we're stepping into Deuteronomy. Oh my goodness, let's just see what God has to unfold in this book. I will tell you that this book was so instrumental in my life 25 years ago when God was relocating us. We were in Augusta, Georgia. Our ministry was thriving. There was so much good happening. And suddenly I felt like God said, it's time to, I said it through my husband, his job relocation, that we were going to be moving. I will tell you, there was no way I thought that could be God. Absolutely no way that could be God. And so I dove into the Bible looking for proof that it could not be God. And through it, God gave me so much. I have pages that I wrote from the book of Deuteronomy where God led me through my own wilderness to get to where he wanted me to go, which was in Baltimore. Thank God he would not release me from his plan, because Baltimore brought so much, it still does and always will, brought so much richness into my life. It grew me up in so many ways. I met so many incredible people. It's where our ministry truly, it's where Burdens of Blessings was written. It's where most all of my books were written, except the last 4 or 5. I mean, it was the place that I thought God would least likely be taking us was the very place where my promised land was for that amount of time, if you will. So today, as we start this journey through Deuteronomy, I do pray that through the morning scriptures, that we truly will open your minds to where you are, and then ask God to truly be able to help you receive his word. That sometimes can really be hard when it's against everything we thought was supposed to be, when it's against anything that we had planned, when it throws a curveball, so to speak. It's hard to receive it sometimes, I know. And that's why this book of Deuteronomy means so much to me. It led me through my own personal wilderness. Now, I didn't even understand that I was in the wilderness, and God led me through. Many times God has you in the middle of something and you're not even sure. You don't even know because it would be too overwhelming. You know, for me, if he said, I'm going to scoot you up to Baltimore, you're going to have to quit your ministry for a few years, stay home because your boys are really going to need you. But in the process of that, we're going to write some books. I would have gone, number one, I love the fact of taking care of my boys. That's the good part. Number two, moving to Baltimore is absolutely a no-go. And writing books is impossible because I'm not an author. And I wasn't even good at English in school. So I had all kinds of reasons why it wouldn't work. And so maybe you do too, where God is leading you. And maybe you're in the wilderness and you're not even sure because you're just being kind of like I was, a little bit rebellious. And that's what we saw in Numbers. We saw rebellion, didn't we? And what happened was, well, we know what happened. I'm not going to get into all that, but I will tell you that Numbers concludes. It's kind of a full circle. And really what Numbers is all about is obedience. There's so many places in there where we see just how important it is for obedience. So are you ready to dive into Deuteronomy? Oh my goodness. Again, I love it. I love this book. We're going to have so much fun going through it. And you might have some trepidation. So be ready to receive what God has for you each day. Don't let's try not to overwhelm ourselves with the book. Let's try to take it in chunks. That's why we're doing it daily. But every day, let's try to exercise. Let's try to engage in what God is asking us to do. Whatever it is. Maybe it's to be still. Maybe it's to make a move. Maybe it's to do whatever it is that God would have you to do. So let's talk about that a little bit. Well, we're going to start. I'm just going to recap just a little bit. Gosh, I have so many pages here of things I could say. So I was literally looking at all this thinking, God, what am I going to say? When I get on here, it's not that I'm looking for something to say. It's I'm trying to figure out from all the studying I've been doing the 3 or 4 hours before I get on here, what should I say? Because I will tell you what, this is speaking to me, and that's how I'm looking at it, just like I've told you all. I want God to speak to, I need God to speak into me. I need his daily direction. I am so flawed and can mess up in so many ways. But what I'm learning is that you just keep going, right? You just keep going. God understands our flaws. He understands our mess ups. But more importantly, he understands our motives. What is our motive? Is it to please God? If it is to please God, then friends, that's all that matters. Everything else will come out from that motive, and God will help us and he will direct us. Now, he may not be, and I didn't mean that we're all rebellious. I was just talking about myself, Stephanie. I hope I didn't put that on to anybody. I was just I was rebellious, but I wasn't being rebellious because I was trying to go against God. I was being rebellious, looking back. I was being rebellious because I just didn't think it was God's will. My rebellion came from trying to be in God's will. And I didn't see that until afterwards. So that was me. That was a statement on me. So don't everybody jump on me about that. I see, Marita. I didn't mean that on you all. I was just talking about me. So let's move right on from that. In this, and I hope that I never hurt anybody's feelings by saying, the things, the way that God has dealt with me. I'm just trying to be honest, about me, because I was rebellious. But again, it wasn't my heart to not do what God is asking me. I just didn't think it was God's will. I just didn't think it was him. And now I understand. So don't let that be on you. Don't let that be a judgment call. Don't let the enemy take what is meant for good and hurt anybody's feelings. That would destroy me if I thought that happened. So as we step into Deuteronomy, we see where Deuteronomy is really, it's kind of largely a sermon. And it is, actually, it's a set of sermons. It's about 3 sets of sermons. And it's preached by Moses to whom? To all of Israel, when? Shortly before his death. So he knew he wasn't going into the promised land. Now think about this. I think about my mom's words, her last words to me. Maybe you all have sat with someone who knew that they were not going to be long on this earth. Boy, they really say the things that are important, aren't they? Think about if you were saying some of your last words to your children or someone you really loved. You would try to say words that would direct them, that would encourage them. And so that's what Moses was saying, but it was also being very truthful. So he goes on and he really starts out in chapter 1. Let me get my notes here. I've got my book here. So he really starts out in chapter 1 and he's just started recapping, right? He just kind of recaps their walk that they've just gone through. And he's talking about what they've been through. And he talks about the wandering in the wilderness is really what he's doing. Then chapter 2, he just kind of, again, he starts talking about how they've conquered kings. So he starts saying, it's another reason why we need to journal, right? So we remember these things. He's talking about the kings that they conquered. Then chapter 3, he starts talking about how the land was divided, right? Did y'all read that? He began to talk about the different tribes and how it was divided. And then chapter 4, he gets to, because we're on 3 and 4 today. On 4, he really basically just comes back and says, he's talking about obedience and how important it is to obey God. And he talks about complacency. He worries about, let me just open this. I've got my Bible right here. Hold on. He goes into 4. He talks about obedience is commanded, right? And then he goes into idolatry is forbidden. And then he goes into the Lord is God. And he comes in to a place where he says, acknowledges and take to heart what the Lord is saying to you. So he's really trying to get them to understand how important it is to see God, to seize the opportunities, and to be obedient. Now, from all of those 4 chapters, or all the chapters we read this weekend, I asked myself, Kim, what really stands out to you? What really, when you're thinking about more in 24, what from these 4 chapters of Deuteronomy, what really just kind of you need to remember? Just for me, when I'm opening up my heart, and I'll tell you, you want to hear me? You want to hear what stood out to me? I just wish we were in a place where we could talk. I really, really do. I really wish we could do that, because I want to share with you, why can I not find, I wrote my notes on a different piece of paper, you all. Here they are. Here it is. I put it over here so I wouldn't lose it right in front of me. And guess what? I couldn't even see it. So here's what I wrote. Maybe it'll speak to you. Maybe it won't. But I looked at what was being said. I looked at what they had been through. I looked at the obedience and the disobedience. I looked at my life of obedience and disobedience. I looked at my hesitations, like their hesitations. I looked at Moses' life and how he had worked so hard. I looked at his leadership. But then I looked at our theme, more in 24. More in 24. God, what is something in here? What's a principle in here that can propel me, that I can remember? And God led me back to Deuteronomy 1, verse 19 through 21. Deuteronomy 1, open it up. And this is what he said, starting in verse 20. It's where, listen, and maybe this will mean something to you. Maybe it's something for you to pass along, but this is it. He says, then I said to you, you have arrived at the hill country which the Lord your God is given to you, which the Lord your God is giving us. Verse 2, see, so it's like he's putting emphasis on it. See, the Lord your God has given you this land. So go up and take possession of it as the Lord, the God of your ancestors told you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. So he gets them to the land and he goes, okay, this is the land that's been promised. This is the land. He says, see, he says it again, see, it's like, look at this. This is what's been promised. It's a reminder. The Lord your God has given you this land. Go up and take possession of it. Well, how does that speak to me today? Well, I remembered how they hesitated, how they started sending in spies, remember? You see, what had happened was, and this is what I wrote down in my notes, God had granted Canaan to the Israelites and instructed them, right? He instructed them to take ownership of this. This is yours. Exercise your authority over it. Take ownership of it. But what did they do? They hesitated, and by staying outside the land, they were not obeying what? God's instructions. He said, here it is. I've given it to you. Now take it. Here's what God gave to me this morning. Sometimes, now I'm thinking about my past. I'm thinking about my future. I'm thinking about Moses. I'm thinking about the Israelites. I'm thinking about how do I go in and absorb the more in 24? How do I do that, Lord? Give me your word. Sometimes, Kim, when God presents you with opportunities, and he will present us with opportunities, according to Ephesians 2:10, he says that he will give us daily good works to do. We don't do works for salvation, but we work out our works for our love for him because of our salvation. He will give us these daily opportunities, and sometimes we can shrink back because we have doubts. Or maybe it's because we're afraid of failure or defeat. Fear begins to overtake us. But if God opens the door, or as God opens the doors in 24, we need to go through them boldly. As God is opening doors in 24, we need to not be like the Israelites and hesitate and wonder. And if God says go, go boldly, go boldly. Take advantage of the opportunities to grow and to show our faith. Don't hold back when God shows us what to do each day. That said something to me. Did it say anything to you? Go boldly. Go boldly. Ephesians 5:16 says, make the most of every opportunity. God is going to give us hour more in 24 with daily opportunities. Daily opportunities to say, I love you to someone you love. Daily opportunities to ask for forgiveness for someone who has been hurt. Daily opportunities to sit down and write a poem, or daily opportunities to speak love into someone, or daily opportunities to take a walk, to take care of your body. Daily opportunities to expand our mind, to transform our mind, to get rid of lies and to replace it with truth. Daily opportunities. These daily opportunities are going to be like grains of sand that once we get through 24, we're going to look back and there's going to be a masterpiece within us that's been built out of those grains of sand, because God is going to have done through us more than we could ever imagine or even dare to ask. Daily opportunities. God will let you know. He promises that he will speak to us. My sheep hear my voice. Now, will we obey that voice? That's what I got out of this. That's exactly what I got out of that. And then in conclusion of it all, when we really think about what, we can go back to, why? Why do we obey? Why do we listen? Well, of course, we've uncovered a lot of whys. We've discovered a lot of whys. But let me give you one verse that summarizes it all, that God gave me to put it in my book, John 14:15. If you love me, Kim, you will keep my commandments. If you love me, when I take you to the land, when I take you to the opportunity, when I take you to the open door, you will boldly walk through because you love me. What do you think? Pretty awesome, don't you think? Did anybody need to hear that? Did that encourage anybody this morning? I sure hope so. Because God's going to be walking each and every one of us to opportunities every day to grow and to show his love. It's pretty awesome, don't you think? I think so. It will be in your classroom, Marita. It will be in your classes, Stephanie. It'll be in your home, Lee. It will be around town. For some of you, it will be in church. It will be in your homes. There will be opportunities for each and every one of us as we just continue on each day, one day at a time. All right, my friends. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this has been a good day. I hope this has been a good lesson. I know it sure has been for me. I feel like each and every time that I open God's word, I really do feel like he's speaking just to me. And he wants you to feel like he is speaking just to you as well, because that's exactly what he is doing. Which chapter, Stephanie? I see verses 29. I love that. Yes, so many more opportunities. That's the key, Marita, is to be open to them, to see them. And I think that's one of the reasons we get in God's word. I think it just pricks our mind to see. I really do. I know for me, it really does. So just to see the opportunities and then go for it. Go boldly. You might go in a grocery store today and see someone that looks sad, and God may say, go over and ask if you can pray for them. And you might go, oh my gosh, I don't want to bother them. Bother them. Go boldly. You might be in exercise class today, and someone may not be able to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. Show them how. Compassion. It's not that difficult. The enemy wants us to think that serving God is beyond anything that we can do. No, we can do it. And you are doing it. And God's just telling us he's going to use us more and more and more. It's pretty awesome, isn't it? You're right in your mission field, right where you are. God will bring you the people that he wants you to speak into. It's really awesome when you think about it. Every day of your life matters, and everywhere you go counts. It's pretty awesome. All right, my dear friends, I love you all so much. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow when we go into Deuteronomy 5 and 7. Deuteronomy 5 and 7. But for today, just keep looking for those opportunities. All right, my friends, love you all so much. It's so good seeing you. Hey, Sherry, I see all those hearts. I love you, my friend. Hope to see you in Baltimore in a little bit. All right, for the rest of you, have a wonderful day. Love your comments and hope to see you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.